Welcome to Wild, Women in Lending Determined to Make an Impact. I'm your host, Robin Lavasser. They say our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Welcome back to Wild. I love this topic. I actually don't love the feelings that happen during it, but I have made the mistake so many times as an originator of letting my confidence be shaken right out of the gate. We've all dealt with the client before who comes in control, if you will. And I think depending on the level of loan officer you are, you often maybe don't know how to take the driver's seat back over. And I talk a lot about that, right? Giving yourself the wheel again and recognizing when you don't have it. But here's one of the things that when we never have confidence from the beginning, it's incredibly hard to keep our confidence. So what wavers confidence? And I want you to ask yourself this when it comes to your loan presentation and or chasing your referral partners. Super big deal on this. And you could use this metaphorically in kind of any business, but I know for me, early on, a bigger realtor, a bigger referral source, somebody that exuded success, if you will, and their own confidence made me shaky. And that was deep down inside. Now I can look at it and say, I was questioning my worthiness, my ability. Imagine being a brand new doctor, brand new, and having another long-standing doctor come in for surgery and you're the one that's going to operate, but you're brand new. How would you feel in that moment? Maybe a little intimidated, maybe a little, right? Just shaky in general. You'd want to maybe be very honoring, if you will. And so you start to cater by caving, right? Letting them have the driver's seat. They know more, they have more, whatever that may be. I made that mistake when it came to chasing referral partners. I've also made that mistake when it comes to sitting down with clients. You ever gotten that first biggest loan amount you've ever gotten, or their immaculate credit scores, have tons of money, and they lead with things like, we can pay cash for this. We don't need financing. We're only looking for the best deal. And those little things often shake someone's confidence in sales. And here's the thing. It's almost like being fearful when you walk into a room that you don't like dogs. And so where does the dog go, right? The dog goes and tramples the person that doesn't like them the most, and or the dog ends up weary back. And there's this growling and there's this we can feel the mistrust, if you will, or the misalignment right out of the gate. That's what happens when you are dealing with that. So I have got a lot of loan officers right now who are experiencing this. And whether it's that they're new in the business or that they're just now starting to establish those move up buyers, or there's really well qualified borrowers. And here's one of the things. Let me give you a few tactics around this. What we tend to do with an uber successful referral partner or an uber, well qualified client is we edify them to a place that we de-edify ourselves. Think about that. We edify them to a place that we de-edify ourselves. I'm not even sure if that's an official word, but I'm going with it. De-edifying ourselves is grabbing a hold of something and saying, you probably know more than I do. I'm lucky to be here versus we're lucky to be working together and we're in alignment. That is a huge miss. And the truth is, what cures all of it is one, having process, period. Two, having incredible confidence in yourself, but curiosity is what will bring you that confidence as well as competence. But in order to be competent in what you're speaking to them about, you have to understand and know what they're looking for to begin with. And that starts with curiosity. And so you sit down with these clients and they say, we can pay cash. We're very well qualified. And you're looking and you're like, oh my gosh, the ratios, if you will, are, 20 over 30. They've got all the cash they need. They have an 800 credit score and they're saying they only want to deal. How do you deal with that? There's always more. I'll give you an example. I talked to one of my loan officers and she was telling me, they're buying an investment property. And I said, how come? And she said, well, it's right next door to them. They actually want to make it into a Airbnb. So they're buying right next door. And it is an investment property, if you will, whether it's short-term or long-term doesn't really ultimately hold anything. She said they do have over $1 million in assets. They have really strong credit and they have really low DTI. They qualify beautifully. And they were in contract before I got the deal. So woo, we've already missed our loan presentation on the pre-approval. Like we're steps down the road, which means she's got to get in and be valuable very fast. And she has to have closing skills to do that. What she did immediately was say, I know they just want a great deal. So how low can I go? And there's a saying that we say in business in general, and that's racing to the bottom isn't pretty. And so I asked her, I said, did you meet with them? She said, yes. I said, Zoom or in person? She said, I went to their house. When? I said, how do you technically know them? I'm in a women's group with the wife, a small group at church. When? Little bit of relationship. She said the husband is cold as ice, like personality of a potato, not in a rude way, right? Like just hard, stoic, if you will, not able to really infiltrate, all about the numbers. And I said, who's the decision maker? The husband. We all know that sometimes that's the case. So how does she break them? And I said, what does the husband care about? And she said, his bottom line. I said, then what should you focus on? And she said, his bottom line. And I said, yes, but that's not by dropping everything. You don't really understand even what his bottom line is. So did we go through most important thing, right? House, total cash to close, total monthly payment, and interest rate. Did we go over why they're buying the investment property? And she said, well, I told you they live next door. And I said, no. You have well-qualified retirees that make very good income, and they're now buying an investment property. I said, first of all, how much cash do they have? She said, a little over $1 million. Now, you and I both know a little over $1 million is a lot of money, and I'm never going to discount anybody having comma club, if you will, in assets. However, making a dent in that million when the market currently is earning 10 to 12% easily right now in returns in invested money wouldn't make a lot of sense to pull that cash out. Wouldn't make a lot of sense. Not to mention you want the tax deductions. I said, does the house need any work? And if it's a short-term rental, that means it needs furniture and all of these things. What I really found out was she was not curious enough. She was surface curious, but she didn't go those few whys deeper. I said, why are they buying the home ultimately? Well, they want an investment. No, why do they want an investment? Why? Where'd the idea come from? What idea do they have around it? What are they setting themselves up for? Maybe they've always had a dream of owning an investment property. Tell me about that dream. Stay curious, but go below the surface with that curiosity. She said, I didn't do any of that. And what she kept saying to me was they could pay cash. They're very well qualified. They have an 800 score. And what dawned on me was how many of us have made the mistake that I was making for so long. And I honestly quit making it. And I told her, I said, if he's bottom line driven, one of my great takeaways is, hey, if bottom line is all that matters, I'm competitive, but not cheap. So could you save a little bit? Could you save $20, $30 in the monthly payment? Could you save in interest? Could you save in fees? The answer is yes. So why choose me? I'm honored that I have the opportunity to meet with you. I'm honored that I'm in the church group with your wife. I'm honored that I know the listing agent and that he trusts me implicitly. We have a local appraisal panel. We work hand in hand. I'm honored that I would get to serve you guys and that local and community is so important to you. Even if they didn't say it was important, put that in their head. But if cheap is the only thing you're after, yes, you are well qualified, but loans are still tricky and the process is still a headache. We often don't say that to people that are well qualified. We think in our head subconsciously, anyone can get this loan done. And when we think that, what we're saying is, I don't know why me, so why should they? That's such a huge miss. If you don't know why you, then how would they? How would they know why you? How would they know how passionate you are about their goals? How would they know that you really care if you haven't gone a few levels deeper? How would they know that you are keeping their bottom line, their numbers at the forefront if you haven't even asked how you're going to furnish the home for that short term? Where is all the cash coming from? Where's that cash currently? Is it invested or just sitting, not earning interest? What makes you excited about the future? What has you worried about it? Oh, you want to renovate? Let me help you with connections to great contractors, flooring, whatever that may be. Make yourself valuable. I do all of these things and you're about to go get cheap, potentially online from somebody who doesn't know you, doesn't care about you, and doesn't get paid to be resourceful, helpful, save you time, make you money, or bring you joy. And I hope that I'm doing all three of those things for you. And there's a little takeaway close in that. There's a little brain surgeon close in that, right? There's a little lower the bar close in that. There's a little obligation close in that. All of which If you really are listening and you understand closing styles, which is another podcast, you know you have to bring all of those to the table. So lucky for us, she called me. We're working through all of the details, but it made me realize I get this call a few times a week from loan officers. And it's no different than we send a deal into an underwriter and we immediately say, this is a good loan. And an underwriter's thinking, let's assume all loans are good loans. Now, how do we prove it on paper? How do we make this thing stick? Because emotional statements are things like they're so well qualified, they can pay cash, they have great credit, they have a ton of money. And what we're really saying deep down is they don't need me, but I want the deal. They don't need me, but I want the deal. And what I would challenge you with is that for sure people need you. They are lucky to work with you, but you have to bring that to the forefront, do the work, have the competence, have the curiosity, and have the confidence to know that you are a valuable resource, not just now, but in the future, that you care multiple levels deep, that you will cater to them, that you are charming, and that you are worth the investment of not racing to cheap, but staying competitive and working with someone who truly is one of the best. See yourself that way. Invest in yourself so you are that way, and you will win a million times over. This was helpful. I hope you share it. I look forward to seeing you on the next Wild.